Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 202, Ghosted No More, 5 Strategies That Work.
I hate getting ghosted, Joe. Hate it.
Oh, I would never have guessed, Sam.
It is so rude. I really hope I've never done it to somebody. Maybe I have. I don't know.
I feel like you said that you had not got back to people who had given you a quote or a proposal for something for like a year, and then you came back to them.
Yeah, that is ghosting.
Yeah. And I bet that person felt really shit. And like, why did that person not come back?
I'm
Or
sorry.
maybe they just had a lot of work.
If you're that person or persons that are listening, I'm very sorry for ghosting you because it is so frustrating. It's frustrating for the person being ghosted. And I think what annoys me the most about it is the energy it then takes for whoever is being ghosted to fix it. Do you know what I mean? Chase up, follow up, overthink it. Wondering why this person is ghosting you, taking that on you because you immediately take it personally. You immediately think, oh, what have I done? Is my quote too expensive? Did I completely bomb the discovery call? Am I a shocking manager? And that's why my team members aren't getting back to me?
Yeah, we tell ourselves all sorts of stories and make it up, and you can really get into a spiral when someone starts ghosting you. So we know that this is absolutely has happened or will happen in your virtual assistant business, like 100%.
Every day I think I read something about from a virtual assistant sharing a situation which is frustrating for them because they've been ghosted for whatever reason. So this is obviously something that happens a lot. We've got 5 kind of main situations where it can happen, like the 5 most common ways a virtual assistant will be ghosted. And we're also going to talk about how to prevent it, because for most of these 5 situations, there is some things that you can do in order to prevent it from happening, for sure.
Yeah, as much as possible. I mean, there's always going to be rude people.
There's always going to be an exception to our rule, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just dicks.
I was going to say that word and I was like, am I going to say it? There we go.
Okay, let's start. Number 1 situation, very, very common for a virtual assistant to a lead will reach out to them, very excited, need some help, enthusiastic, books a discovery call, and then you're sitting there, the virtual assistant's sitting there on Zoom waiting and waiting and waiting, and the lead is a no-show. Now, this can also happen if a client, so they're an actual client, they're not necessarily a lead, and you've got a regular meetup, and this client is a no-show as well.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes they get it wrong, they missed the appointment, they weren't looking at their calendar. Like, I have done that before, and it is very embarrassing and horrible. So we get it. I think that there should be there should be one chance for them to be able to reschedule, because stuff does happen, right? And they get it wrong. But it feels like if they are a no-show for the second time, that's a really big red flag, especially if it's a lead not showing up to a discovery call twice. That's really, really rude. And that lead, if they became a client, we can guarantee that that lead is going to be the biggest pitter client ever, which stands for pain in the ass, because they will ghost you and they will not show up and they'll be completely disorganized and be a really frustrating client. So please let that be your red flag and walk away from that lead. You do not want that person as a client.
Yeah, this is a very early signal that this lead will never value your time. Not good.
Okay, so one chance. Do you agree? One chance?
Yeah, I would. It's so yucky. I feel like this is a really great area. I feel like it depends what their reason is that first time, and it depends how quick they are to kind of fix what they've done, and it depends on their attitude as well. Like if they are if within an hour they are reaching out to you, and I'd want a phone call, I think. I wouldn't want an email. I'd actually want a quick phone call. Oh my God, I stuffed up, or oh my God, this happened. I am so sorry. This has happened, XXX. And then it might happen again. And it's because of that original first reason. There's something major going on in their life. I would probably give them a couple of chances, but it absolutely depends on the reason why they are a no-show. Yeah.
Because we want you to value your time. We want you to feel valued by other people for your time. So just let that be a waving red flag to really signal to you to stop and think, is this someone that is just going through something right now and this is not like an ongoing thing, or is this going to be an ongoing thing? This is how they are. This is how they do business. This is how they treat people.
Yeah.
That is your very clear signal that you do not want them as a client.
Now, what about the situations? And we've heard of situations like this where it's not a lead. It's an actual client. They've signed on the dotted line. You may be working for them for a wee while, or maybe it's still early days, and they are not showing up to those regular catch-ups.
Also, not valuing your time.
No.
This needs to be a very clear phone or Zoom conversation where you are setting some expectations and, giving them the hard word that, like, this isn't okay. I want my time to be valued, and what is happening and how do we fix this? Because I can't keep showing up to a Zoom prepared and ready for you to not attend. Like, I want to help you. I want to do good work for you, but I can't if you're not going to show up and do what was agreed.
Yeah, this is one of those courageous conversations, isn't it? This is not, once again, this is not an email discussion. This is one of those you need to hop on a call or somehow get them on that Zoom again to be able to talk about their behavior and how it's affecting not only you, but them as well. This is their time. Okay, here's a question. If you've got a client hasn't turned up to a regular meeting that they are paying for, right? This is your time. Do you still charge them for that time?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't charge them for the entire time, but I would charge them for my prep leading up to it, getting ready for it, and then, maybe 15 minutes of time waiting for them.
Yeah.
Sure. And that follow-up, that chase up.
If you can see that this client, if the reason they're not following up is because they are just so busy and so overwhelmed and they are just working in a really chaotic way, like, this would be a really good chance for you to say, hey, let's look at this. How can I help you work in a more productive way so this isn't happening on a regular basis? Because I bet if it's happening to you, it's probably happening to other people that this client works with.
Absolutely. Yes, it will be. Yeah. Okay. So courageous conversation. That is absolutely the strategy to stop that from happening. Remedy that if your client is not showing up to your regular catch-ups. And then for those discovery call no-shows, to really try and prevent that as much as possible, I think it's important to send an automatic reminder the day before, 30 minutes before, like set that up in your system so that they are getting those reminders. Or even just a quick text or something, of the morning. If it's in the afternoon, just say, hey, are we still on for this afternoon? Just checking in, something like that, to try and prevent that no-show.
Yeah.
Making sure that they always have a meeting request in their calendar as well. Like, don't just agree something on the phone and then just not send them anything. It's in their calendar.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a must do. I mean, I have to admit that I really appreciate those automatic reminders, whether it's from the dentist or the doctor or whatever appointment that I'm having to go to. Like, even though it's in my diary, it's still like, oh, I definitely can't forget about that because that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just that extra reminder really helps me, just in life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second situation that we hear a lot about, and this has happened to me, I'm sure it's happened to you too, Joe, at some point, is when you have had a discovery call with a lead, it's gone really well. You have then sent them a proposal, recapping what you've talked about, suggesting this great package that you recommend that they go on or service plan, and then nothing, nada, crickets. There is no response, and you're sitting there and you're waiting and you're going, oh, it's because I'm too expensive, eh? Bet you it's because I bet you my prices are too high and I need to start dropping them.
No, that's definitely something that runs through every virtual assistant's mind. Okay. There are definitely some ways to prevent this and what to do if this has happened to you. So if this has happened, and this absolutely is going to happen, this has happened hundreds of times over the last 12 years of being in business. It's really important to keep following up. Emails, phone calls, text, not all in the same day, but regularly. Because sometimes it's not because you're too expensive or you didn't make a good impression on the discovery call. It's actually just that they are busy and have not made the time to consider your proposal and get back to you.
Yeah, it really is as simple as that. All of those assumptions that you are making about why they haven't immediately got back to you, signed on the dotted line in a booking that handover meeting, are just that. Often they are assumptions. But what we don't want is for you to just then do nothing, like sit back and wait and wait and wait, or go, oh, okay, well, that's it. That was a waste of my time. I'm just not going to do anything about that. Oh, it just doesn't work that way. Like how many follow-ups? I'm sure there's some science. Oh, we've done a podcast episode before on follow-ups.
Yeah, there is. So 80% of sales happen after the 7th touch point. So if they've maybe like seen a social media post, booked a discovery call, been on the discovery call, that's 3 touch points. You've still got 4 more to go before 80% of sales are made.
Yeah.
So they need to keep being followed up, see you, hear you before they are ready to make that decision sometimes. So don't be one of those salespeople who sends the proposal and then never follows up, because you are leaving so much money on the table just because you're not following up.
Oh, yeah. I've spoken to virtual assistants that have actually taken this as a red flag for them. They've gone, oh, if this lead isn't getting back to me regarding my proposal, no, I don't want to work with them. I think it's rude. This is a red flag. It's like, dude, they're contacting you for a reason. They're really busy. They're needing to outsource some stuff in their life.
Yes. Yes. This is the kind of clients that we are attracting, those who don't have time to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah. 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 This is not a red flag. This is you need a follow-up strategy. We've got a great one that we teach both in the mastermind and launch in 30 days, like surefire way. And, it can start from discovery call. Like you can have a discussion about when you're going to be following up. So then it doesn't feel yucky either. This is all part of our follow-up strategy that we talk about.
Yes. Yeah. So keep following up and agree in the discovery call when you're going to follow up.
Yeah. Easy. Easy. Follow-up's not yucky. It's not salesy. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Get over yourselves if you're honestly, if you don't want to follow up, if you're taking it personally, if you're just willing to wash your hands of that, geez, I've got no sympathy for you. Sorry.
Tell us what you really think, Sam. This is amazing. Okay, the next one is you can absolutely get ghosted after the handover. Like they've signed the proposal, they are on as a client, they've had the handover, they're so excited, you've had the meeting with them, and then nothing. You sit there and you're waiting for the work to come in. We hear this way, way too many times. Sit there waiting for the work to come in after the handover.
Yeah, I feel like even though this is a very common way for a virtual assistant to get ghosted, I feel like when it does happen, it's a real shock. Like, I really don't think virtual assistants expect this type of ghosting at this point in their relationship with their new client.
Yeah. They're in disbelief, aren't they?
They really are. It's like, but I don't get it. They were so excited to work with me. They signed the proposal immediately. There was no pushback on anything. They're willing to pay my premium rates. I know they've got a shit ton of work to give me, but I just can't get in touch with them. They're not getting back to me.
Yeah. Or they're not even following up to get the work out of them, which is worse. Okay, so if you are in the situation where you've had the handover, you're waiting for this work to come in, you absolutely need to keep calling them. Keep calling them to get in touch with them and get the information that you need. They have hired you. They want your help. So it's not like you're reselling anything. They actually want you to follow them up and get that work out of them. But let's get into the head of the brand new client that you have just had the handover with. This is what is happening for them. I am so busy, and I know that I need to stop and take quite a substantial amount of time to get information and detail about what I'm actually going to give my new person that I've hired. And that is so daunting. And sometimes they don't even know how to provide that to you, where to start, what to actually hand over. And this is where you've actually done them a disservice, because they really need you to take the lead on that, rather than you expecting them to know how to delegate, know what to delegate, and give you all the information that you need. Like, they're just not going to be able to do that. So over in this handover meeting, we teach 2 key strategies of what to say, what to agree in the handover. One is quick wins. What can you do really fast without too much information or access or detail? The other one is the nice to do projects. What are the things that are important but not urgent and could be done at a future date? The nice to do things that you can do if they don't give you enough work, or if you've got spare hours in your package.
Yeah.
Those are key.
And once again, it's so simple. It's so simple. It's just so simple. This works really well, not just being ghosted really early on after that initial kind of sign on the dotted line. It can happen anytime, I feel like, in terms of especially those clients that are on ongoing service plans. And if you've listened to us talk about no rollover policies, you should know that you shouldn't be allowing hours to roll over, unused hours to roll over to the next month and the next month and the next month. This can happen. This can help with situations like that. So if for whatever reason there's something big going on in this client's life or business, and they are just too busy to kind of get their head around, oh, I need to give something to my VA this month, this is where you go back to that list, those 2 lists that you've got.
Yeah, and I think we really need to change the way that we think about this, not just letting the client be the one who comes up with everything that they're going to give you. Like, you need to be a proactive virtual assistant who is leading the delegation process, who is suggesting, who is making it very clear with very clear instructions to your client. This is what I need. This is when I need it by. This is how you get it to me. Like, that's on you as the virtual assistant business owner. You are a business owner providing a service. You are not an employee doing admin at the request of your manager. You need to take the lead in here, and you need to help your client delegate, not just wait. I think that's really key. This is all down to the great onboarding process that we teach in the mastermind and in Launch in 30 Days. Like, you follow our process, you do not have clients ghosting you because you have taken the lead on this whole process.
Yeah. This is a big mindset shift, especially for the new virtual assistants, like that are just starting out. This could be the first client that they've ever signed. It might be the first of 5 and you're still kind of getting your head around it. But yeah, this is moving into that employee to business owner mindset for sure. Take control. Don't just sit back and wait. You know, you're not sitting in an office outside somebody else's office that walks past you every day that goes, oh, I need to give Sam something because there she is right there. It's a little bit out of sight, out of mind, I feel like as well.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4 kind of situation that you may find yourself in, and this is for those agency owners who have hired team members.
This has never happened to me. Do you know why?
Because apparently you don't have a team. Oh no, the team you have had, you've managed so well.
Sorry, I just felt as though I had to put that in there.
Yeah, this has definitely happened to me.
This has happened to you, and you're not the only one. Like, I've heard your stories. I think it's happened to you a couple of times, at least, that I know about.
Yeah. One really stands out, so I'll tell you that story.
Yeah, but you are definitely not alone. There was another story recently where an agency owner that we know, one of her team members just like disappeared, like nothing, no comms. They weren't answering the phone. They weren't answering emails. And the agency owner, because she is a lovely person, was actually more concerned about her team member than she was about her business and the impact that this was having on her business. She was just really worried. I think she ended up going around and knocking on her door because I think she lived close by because she was that concerned. It turns out there was some stuff going on in this subcontractor's life. But yeah, that's not it's not a great use of your time being worried about that.
Yeah, we're going to be quite harsh with this because this is really flaky and downright rude as a subcontracted team member being hired by an agency and you completely ghosting and dropping off the face of the earth. That is so rude. That poor agency owner is now scrambling, worrying about you, worrying about the clients, figuring out who's going to do the work, scrambling behind the scenes, really unnecessarily. Even if a family member has died or something really major like that, please, you cannot tell me that you can't stop for just 2 seconds to message someone who has hired you and let them know, hey, my family member has died. I'm just going to have to go offline for the next X days.
I agree. I honestly feel like the only reason or only situation that this would be acceptable for you not to at least send a text message to the agency owner that you're working for is if you've literally, something has happened and you've been taken to hospital in a coma. And you physically can't let anybody know. Like, that is the only situation that I feel as though you can get away with it, that someone would understand. Other than that,
are we being harsh?
I don't know. Are we? It's a text, Jo.
Surely,
how long does it take? How long does it take? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a text. 30 seconds. You can say, this has happened. I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be contactable. I hate that I'm leaving you in the lurch. Boom. Yeah. At the very least. I don't think we're being harsh because we aren't saying that life doesn't happen, and we're not saying that there is ever going to be a reason where your agency owner is just going to fire you straight away. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like we're not saying that you should sort out who's going to take over doing your work and communicate like where you're at with everything. We're actually just saying a simple text. If something terrible has happened, a simple text.
Yeah.
Because then at least the agency owner knows and they can go and deal with whatever needs to happen. So the situation that I was in was we hired a team member. They were going to be assigned to a client straight away. I turned up to the client meeting to do the handover and the team member didn't arrive. And so I was on a Zoom with the client trying to come up with an excuse as to why this has happened. She ended up coming in super late.
I feel like
that's terrible.
Sorry, I gotta try. I feel like that's worse. Turning up late is worse than her not turning up at all, almost. Because she doesn't know what you've said in order to kind of get out of this.
Didn't have a good reason why after when I talked to her. And then completely ghosted the client. Just goes offline, doesn't do anything, gone. And I'm calling, I'm messaging, I'm emailing, trying to figure out what's going on. And just nothing for like a week.
Yeah.
And then I finally got hold of her and she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, a family member died." And it's like, just one text message. Not even sorting it out or fixing anything or doing any work, just one text message.
Because then you know, then you know what you need to do to move forward. And it's not necessarily saying goodbye forever. This is it. This is a red flag. This is just right. Okay. I know that she's going to need a few weeks. So I will hand this client over to someone else. I can now tell the client what has happened without having to kind of like, as you said, scramble with it, because you don't know up until that point why it even happened, right? Okay. So question then, Jo. How do you prevent something like this from happening?
Okay. So the best way that I can think of how to prevent this as much as possible, it's always going to obviously come down to the choices and behavior of the team member. But you as the agency owner, I think it's really important that you have very clear and open communication with that team member in their kind of onboarding induction so that they feel like it's safe to message you if anything was going wrong or that they needed help or support or that a family member died or something happened. Giving them the space and safety of knowing that that would be okay to message you, that's really important.
Yeah. I guess you don't want to be creating an environment where someone is afraid about how you're going to react.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Your reactions as an agency owner to what people tell you, what your team member tells you is really, really important because that's going to show through your actions what would happen if they had to tell you something that was going to cause issues in your business.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also need to be aware of how you are communicating situations like this with other team members. If they hear you being really frustrated and really angry about another team member, then they're going to go, "Oh my God, she's going to be talking about about me if this ever happens to me."
Yeah. You can rant and rave all you like in your own house, but don't do it in front of team members for sure.
No. Okay. The last common situation that we see virtual assistants get ghosted is when a client is late paying an invoice.
Yeah, it's interesting how clients suddenly stop communicating when there's an outstanding bill.
I mean, sometimes this can be that they are embarrassed. There might be some cash flow problems and they don't want to admit that. Sometimes it can be that they are just busy and they miss the reminders if they're doing their accounts themselves, right? That happens. I've been late paying stuff before.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you just don't see it in the inbox or, something happens. Don't happen to look in Xero. I'll see it.
Yeah.
And don't assume that there is a problem, that they have a problem with your service.
Yeah.
That they have a problem with you. Don't assume that. They may have missed it. They may be having cash flow problems. There's all sorts of reasons why they might not have paid your bill.
Now, the first kind of preventative measure that we would want everybody to take is make sure that their clients are on service plans, ongoing service plans that are paid in advance.
Yeah, and even better, by direct debit.
Ooh, now you're talking.
Yeah. And always having those automatic reminders. If you don't have all your clients on direct debits and paid in advance, then those automatic reminders that you have inside accounting software are so important, because then there is something overdue. They get it, at least an email without you needing to do anything. Then it's really important that if they still haven't paid, you need to call them.
You have
call
to
them
call
and
them.
find out.
Yeah,
You have to call them.
Another courageous conversation that you need to pick up the phone if they are local. Don't just sit back and keep on working for another month and not being paid either. Like, there's a certain point, if you have done all of the reminders, if you have picked up the phone and they're not taking your call, if you have sent a more strongly worded email at that point, and you might want to drop in the name of a debt collector or remind them of the contract that they've signed, and is there a late payment fee that's going to come up soon? Once you've done all that, you've got to stop working.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson a couple of times. Yeah. Too often we see, especially a brand new virtual assistant, send out their first invoice and then they sit and it's a month overdue and they're like, should I follow up? And we're like, yes, you should have followed up a couple of days after it was overdue, not a month later. So please, it is your money at that point. You've delivered a service, had an agreement with that client. It's actually your money. They have your money sitting in their bank account. It's yours. You're entitled to it. So you need to follow it up.
Gosh, I had a conversation with a virtual assistant. This was a couple of years ago now, from memory. And this was via the virtual assistant network of New Zealand. And she wanted to renew her membership for another year, but she was having cash flow issues. So she asked if there could be a little bit of grace period, and got chatting about her cash flow issues and what was causing them. And it was because her biggest client, hadn't paid her for 2 months. And so she just had no money. There was just no money sitting in the bank account. And so I said, so how have you been following them up? Do you know what she answered? Do you know what she said, Jo?
Oh, no. Hit me.
She hadn't. She had not done any type of follow-up. And I'm not even talking about a courageous conversation follow-up. There hadn't even been an automatic reminder coming out of whatever, invoicing system she was using. Although, let's be fair, she may not have been using an invoice system. So that kind of manual first reminder hadn't even gone via email.
You got to step into being a business owner. You just have to at this point. Otherwise, you're just not going to make any money.
Yeah. Yeah. How much was your mistake not chasing up, carrying on working?
Oh, Sam.
Yeah. Go on. You shared it before.
It's not chasing up. It's that they were having serious cash flow issues and they were waiting for some funding to come through. So
that's right. But you continued
conversations with them.
You continued working with them. Why did you continue working? Because you felt sorry for them?
No. What happens when you make the decision to continue working for them is that if you don't continue to working for them, then you're missing out on the future income that will come by continuing to work. It's a real dilemma and it's a real lesson that I was like, I don't want to lose this client. I want to keep earning the money from them. I had employees. It's better if they are working than not working. So I continued working with them. Luckily, it was $16,000. So that's not the luckily part. It was $16,000. So luckily, the funding that they were waiting for did come through. They actually were good for it and they did pay. So I didn't lose any money on that deal. But it was stressful because not having $16,000 in your bank account to pay your team members is incredibly stressful. And this was before invoicing in advance and direct debits as well. So definitely have those in place now to avoid those situations.
And another common situation that we find virtual assistants that continue working well beyond that they should be is when those lines between client and friendship or family have blurred.
Yeah. It's much harder to follow up someone that you know to ask for money, right? I think we don't recommend working for friends and family.
Yeah.
Once again, often doesn't go well.
Yeah, it's not a blanket rule, but more often than not, it either doesn't end well or there is something that becomes uncomfortable at some point.
Yeah. Okay. So there we have it. 5 strategies to stop you getting ghosted as a virtual assistant. Now, if you would like to find out more about Launch in 30 Days, our signature course for those aspiring or beginner virtual assistants, then we'll drop a link below. And if you are more established and looking to scale with great cash flow and no ghosting, making sure that you have that really great onboarding process, then come along into the Scale It Mastermind. We'll also drop the link below too. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the mastermind and the amazing resources, courses, and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.